Pytes is coming out with some new portable power station, and they're going to be initially crowdfunded, and then you're going to be able to purchase them. That's kind of normal with these power stations, but with that said, Pytes is known a lot for their solar charging and maybe power bank setups for houses. Now they're going to drive into this portable power station market, and I think they're doing it right. These two units have some of the best controls and buttons and modes on them that I've seen around. This larger 1800 watt unit is able to be run in parallel. They both have chargers on the top, so if you have wireless charging on any of your phones, boom, right there, up and going. Very cool. Let's come in and take a look at what these guys really have to offer. So when we look at these, the Ecox 18 Pros, 1800 watts, 1466 watt hour. That watt hour is lower than the watts, unfortunately. I'd like to see these the same. This is a lithium iron phosphate battery in both, so they're going to last many, many charges, 10 years of daily use before they lose that top 20%. You can charge the 1800 watt directly off the power cord, which is nice. You don't have to carry anything around. Both the solar and grid charger are underneath. You just plug it in. It does everything. We're already at 100%, so it's not going to do much charging. The smaller one is going to use a power box to charge, and that's going to be simply plug it into the 12 to 28 volt input. That input over there is also going to be able to take solar, and that's why we have a inverter basically here, or converter, to take the DC to our AC to DC in order to charge. The one thing I'm not a huge fan on here are these covers. And they're nice to have the covers, but this is going to get cold at some point in time. Somebody's going to hit it. You're going to knock it off. And I'd rather not have them. I see what they're trying to do there, and it works, but not perfect by any means. The interesting part about this is the buttons. To me, you just push the AC button and it's on. If you look here, we actually have a 20 amp outlet, so we can put a 120 20 amp plug in here. So that's good if you want to run something very significant. Obviously, you start doing that, 1466 watt hour is going to go out very, very quickly. If we want to push on DC, we can turn on our cigarette adapter. We have two 10 amp outputs here, and then our high capacitor quick charge USB-A, a PD60 and a PD60. Pretty much the same over on this side. We just have one PD60 and three quick charge USBs. We do not have the 20 amp on the smaller one, which 933 watt hour, 1000 watts. I mean, that's gonna, if you were running 900 watts out of this, you would get approximately 1 hour worth of runtime. Same with this, if you were running 1400 watts, you know, ish an hour. So runtime is not going to be super fast. We are pulling what it says 200 watts out of this, which is interesting. This is 2.5 amps, and we've looked at other things, and on that 300 watts, this has ticked things down. So what really interests me is going to be what is happening with our AC. What are we getting as far as output? Because that tells me we're a little bit low here as far as the watts that's going out, but not the case. 121, so not bad at all. In fact, excellent for what you would normally see on power stations. A lot of them go between Japan and the US, and they give us 110. Now hertz, 60 hertz, dead on the nuts, so that is absolutely perfect. It's nice to see that. Let's just flip over to the smaller guy and see what we have. Oops, wrong button, needed to push AC. Flip over to this guy, and 60 hertz, right on the button, 119 volts, absolutely perfect. Let's hook up something a little more significant to this and see what happens. So let's drop eco mode here. We're currently showing 7 watts out, 127 volts on the Fluke, and we're seeing it'll run for 116 hours. We have our Milwaukee heat gun. This guy should be about 700 watts when we turn it on low or level 1. It's going to run up to 8. Nice part is we're keeping 124 volts, so that's really good. Let's check our hertz quick. 60.06, perfect. this is going to run 1.1 hours per the machine at that level. Not bad, but let's just kick it up. This is going to go up to 1400 watts. It is not going to take this. This is either going to dump the voltage or it should cut out. If it's any bit of quality, this guy should cut out. And it's taken a while, 1491, 1482, still running 125 volts. So we are overloading this machine. It's keeping up with it by a long shot, which is good. There we go, finally cut out. That's what I want to see. The cool part about this one is it held the volts, held the watt output, and just went with it and said, you know, I can only do this for so long, and then I'm gonna bail. That's great. We don't see that kind of quality per se often, and that to me is perfect. Now here, I have this plugged in. We have the AC on. We are not over here yet with our testing. This guy wasn't plugged in, which is good to see, because if it was plugged in, that's not as much of a test per se in my book. 127 volts plugged in. We're just going to unplug this guy. Down to 126. No big deal. We do have this DeWalt charger going. No big deal. It's very little watts anyway. Turn this on low. Holding our volts, which is great. 769 volts. Still holding 60 hertz exact. Wonderful. This guy should take every bit of what we're throwing at it. We're going to go right to the top because of this 200 watts. And per this, it's not. Hopefully you guys can read it. It's saying 1383, 126 volts, which is good, but it's limiting a little bit because this guy, if you remember, the charger was 200 watts. Even over here, we were at 1400 watts with this. We're just not quite there. But good news is here, again, we are holding 126 volts. This guy is working and working quite well. I'll drop down, the watts drop down, move up. Everything here works great. I love that we have some good quality equipment that is really going well. I hear no fans on this yet, and I'm sure we will at some point in time soon, but it's nice to see everything going. We're looking at 56 minutes at this load per the computer in the system. Things I greatly appreciate here: one, they hold over 120 volts, which is exactly what you're going to get from grid power off the wall. Two, they hold it even when they're overloaded and eventually turn themselves off, saying, hey, too much, can't do it, rather than dipping down to 80 volts where it's going to hurt the equipment that you have plugged in. So Pytes, while they're involved in other stuff, they know what they're doing and they're putting things out correctly, and I appreciate that because it's going to be more forgiving to any sensitive equipment that I have on it, and I'm not going to wreck things because of a mistake of overloading. Huge. Across the board, huge. So when I look at these, I have mad respect for these guys. These are up there in and above some of the better names, because even Bluety and Bluetti and even Jackery and some of them will run at 110 volts. I love that we're getting 120. We're going to get the performance out of the tools that we want. This guy is capable of putting out 20 amps, at least it is, but not for probably a long period of time. So if we're going to run construction equipment, anything like that, we can do it off the larger one, not the smaller one. Plus we have our magnetic or our wireless charging on the top of both. Absolutely great. I love the buttons. None of this junk. It's good. I like that. I like to see this stuff. If you have any questions or comments, please leave them below. If you haven't subscribed to the channel, give us a little hit on that notification bell. That means anytime a new video comes out, you will get it. Thank you for your time. Have a great day.